Of all the body structures, the hands provide the most unique combination of strength and flexibility. This combination is the reason you can perform tasks and use tools so efficiently. The hands themselves are tools that allow you to physically manipulate the environment using the roughest to the finest motor skills. There are countless tasks you perform on a day-to-day basis that require the use of your hands. Though your hands may seem indestructible, over 100,000 workers annually suffer lost time due to hand injury. A high percentage of those hand injuries are the result of lacerations. They can range in severity from a small cut to the amputation of fingers or the entire hand. A risk is present whenever you are exposed to sharp objects, sharp edges, or use hand tools or power tools such as utility knives or bandsaws. The best way to stay injury-free is to eliminate risk factors. In this program, we will discuss engineering controls, personal protective equipment, safe work practices, and first aid procedures to minimize and control the risks associated with laceration injuries. Engineering controls are guards or devices specifically designed to protect you from injuries, such as machine guards, suction cups, and vacuum lifters. Before operating your equipment or tool, perform a hazard analysis of the work area. Make sure all guards are in place and are in proper working order. Before you begin, remove any trip hazards or sharp edge materials from the area. Conduct regular inspections of your work area to identify and remove laceration risks. Make sure all unnecessary tools, materials, and scrap have been removed from your work area. While working, keep all guards and controls in place. If the process is not automated, try and use equipment that will decrease the need for you to handle sharp material. For example, if you are working with metal sheets that have razor edges, utilize a tool that will minimize the need for personal contact. Complete regular evaluations of your work procedures to identify potential improvements to minimize laceration risks. Discuss ongoing opportunities to improve material handling techniques or equipment improvements with your supervisor or members of your safety committee. Never override or modify a safety measure. The time saved is not worth the risk. Remember, while engineering controls can reduce your risk of injury, you must still pay close attention to the task at hand and follow all safety procedures at your site. Although the number one focus is to remove or minimize laceration risks through engineering controls, it is not possible to remove all hazards from operations. Because of the products you handle, there are several jobs that are identified as laceration risks. When handling sheet product or processing coil material, there is a laceration risk if accidental contact happens with the sheet's razor edge. The use of steel banding is another cause for concern. Typically, the edges have been rounded by the manufacturer of the banding, but a razor-sharp edge is created when the banding is cut on the end. In addition, laceration risks are present when handling cut plate, long products, or scrap material with rough edges. Utility knives are commonly used on the job, and these too can very easily cause a laceration if not used correctly. If you are performing any of these tasks, it is critical that you wear the proper personal protective equipment or PPE. Next to safety glasses and protective footwear, gloves are the most common type of PPE found in the work environment. Different types of gloves are designed to protect the hands and fingers from specific hazards. Always use the proper glove for the job, and make sure that they're appropriate for hazards you face while on the job. The wrong glove can put you at greater risk. ANSI has created a standard for determining the level of cut resistance a glove provides. The Cut Protection Performance Test, or CPPT, measures the weight in grams required to cut a glove on a 25mm pass using a razor-sharp blade. A glove with a 0 rating provides the lowest amount of cut resistance, while a level 5 rating provides the highest amount of cut resistance. A common misconception is that leather gloves are cut resistant because they are thick and bulky. The average cut resistance for a leather palm glove is less than 300 grams, which is only a level 1 rating. This Medalist foam Kevlar-based glove has a cut resistance of 800 grams, providing almost 3 times more cut protection than the thicker leather palm gloves. Your supervisor will be able to inform you of the proper gloves you need to wear for your specific tasks. Keep in mind, there is a difference between gloves being cut-resistant and cut-proof. Synthetic fiber gloves offer a measure of protection, but they do not make you invincible. Caution is still required even when using the best PPE. Before using gloves, inspect them thoroughly for cracks, punctures, or tears in the material. Make sure they are the proper size and allow enough strength and dexterity to safely perform the task at hand. If the gloves are in any way defective, dispose of them immediately and obtain a new pair. In addition to wearing gloves to protect you from lacerations, wrist and forearm guards provide cut protection. When using cut-resistant gloves with arm guards, ensure proper overlap to protect the wrists. Wearing your personal protective equipment is the last preventative measure. The risk of a hand injury is significantly elevated when equipment, tools, or workpieces do not perform as expected. Workers use a different work method or perform an unusual task. And when workers are distracted, rushed, or their mind is not on the task at hand. Inspect hand tools thoroughly before each use. Always check that your tools are functioning properly. Cutting devices, such as utility knives, are common in the work environment. Always try to utilize utility knives with appropriate safety devices that protect the blade or have retractable blades. When using them, be sure not to cut towards your body. Also, ensure that the blade is secured and locked into place to prevent injury. Hold objects in such a way that the tool won't come into contact with your body. Instead of trying to carry a heavy or awkward object by yourself, ask for help from a coworker and reduce the risk of an accident. If you must unjam or clean a machine, contact the authorized personnel to perform a lockout-tagout procedure. Keep in mind, not following safe work practices can also put your coworkers at risk. Leaving sharp tools, loose banding, or scrap materials lying around could cause injury to workers passing through your area. Always follow good housekeeping procedures by putting tools away in their proper place and discarding unnecessary materials or scrap. Do not store materials with sharp, unprotected edges near walkways or aisles, and minimize trip hazards that could create accidental contact with stored material. Always be aware of the environment you're working in, and make sure to focus on the task at hand and follow safe work practices. When an injury occurs, your first thought may be to help the injured person in any way possible. However, before acting, it is important to know the proper emergency response and first aid procedures to follow. When performing first aid on the hands, the proper procedure depends on the nature and severity of the injury. Cuts or any other type of injury where blood is involved require taking precautions to prevent the spread of blood-borne diseases. All blood should be treated as if it were infected. When exposure to blood or bodily fluids is possible, wear latex gloves at all times to protect yourself. All injuries at work should be reported immediately to your supervisor. A minor cut may seem insignificant, but if it becomes infected, the injury can become serious. If a major injury occurs, follow your company's emergency response procedures. As a general rule, never try and treat a serious injury on your own. A serious injury requires the immediate attention of trained medical personnel. You can prevent hand injuries by assessing the hazards in your work area and taking necessary precautions. Always follow the best safety practices for each task you perform and wear the proper gloves for the job. Different gloves are designed to protect the hands and fingers from specific types of hazards. Keep in mind there is a difference between gloves being cut-resistant and cut-proof. Precaution is still required even when using the best personal protective equipment. Instead of trying to carry a heavy or awkward object by yourself, ask for help from a coworker and reduce the risk of an accident. Make sure to focus on the task at hand. Conduct regular inspections of your work area to identify and remove laceration risks. Focus on continuing to improve and modify work tasks with engineering controls to eliminate the need for the handling of sharp-edged material. Cuts or any other type of injury where blood is involved require taking precautions to prevent the spread of bloodborne diseases. Know your company's first aid and emergency response procedures so you can make the best decisions should an injury occur. Your hands are an integral part of your daily life. Keep them free of injury by being safety conscious every day. Your hands are not only essential for your job, but for the rest of your life.